In the depths of space, a fleet of massive warships glided through the stars. Their mission was clear: conquer Earth. Led by the Draconian Empire, a race of fierce, reptilian creatures, the fleet was known for its ruthless conquests across the galaxy. Wherever the Draconians went, fear followed. Their ships were powerful, their weapons deadly, and their rule brutal. No one had ever stood against them and lived to tell the tale. But now, for the first time, they were targeting Earth. As the Draconian fleet approached the blue planet, the leaders of the Empire were confident that this would be no different. Earth's defenses were primitive, its technology far behind that of the advanced galactic civilizations. They had been observing the planet for years, and all signs pointed to an easy victory. Earth had no powerful armies, no advanced weapons, and no significant defense systems. To the Draconians, humanity seemed weak, nothing more than a group of primitive beings to be enslaved and controlled. The fleet's commander, Admiral Krath, stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring out into the cold expanse of space. He felt a thrill of excitement. This would be a quick and easy conquest. His fleet of warships, over 30 in total, each capable of destroying a planet, would tear through Earth's defenses with ease. The only question was how long it would take before the planet's population would kneel before them. "Our scouts report no sign of organized resistance," one of the fleet officers said, breaking the silence. "Earth's global military forces are uncoordinated, and their communication systems are outdated. We will face little challenge." Admiral Krath nodded, his cold reptilian eyes narrowing. "Excellent. Begin preparations for the invasion. No one will survive this." The fleet entered Earth's orbit, their ships positioned in a perfect formation, blocking out the sun. From the surface of Earth, it was impossible to miss the enormous, looming ships in the sky. People across the planet looked up in fear and disbelief, unable to comprehend the scale of the threat above them. On Earth, the world's leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Governments that had once bickered and fought over petty differences now united in the face of a common enemy. But even as they gathered, they knew that their chances of survival were slim. The Draconians had superior technology, weapons that could obliterate entire cities with a single blast. Earth's strongest forces were no match for them. Despite the fear, a strange calm had settled over the people of Earth. As the Draconian fleet hovered over the planet, their weapons primed and ready, the Earth's leaders made a decision. They would not go down without a fight. They issued a single, united message to the Draconians: "You have been warned." Admiral Krath saw the message flashing across his communication screen, and he let out a low hiss of amusement. "A warning," he scoffed. "What can these creatures possibly do? Their primitive technology is no match for us." He turned to his officers. "Continue the invasion. It's time to show these humans the true meaning of power." As the Draconian ships began to descend toward Earth, something unexpected happened. A strange signal, unlike anything they had ever encountered, began to pulse across their fleet's communication systems. The ship's navigational systems flickered, and reports of strange interference flooded in. Officers scrambled to understand what was happening, but nothing made sense. The fleet was moving off course, and some of the ships started losing their ability to communicate with each other. The first ship to lose power was the Gravath, a mighty warship known for its invulnerable shields and powerful weaponry. Without warning, the ship's engines shut down, and it began to drift, aimlessly spinning through space. The Draconians aboard scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. A few moments later, the Gravath disappeared from the fleet's sensors entirely, as if it had never existed. Panic spread quickly through the fleet. More ships began to lose communication, their systems failing one after another. The Draconians had never faced such a problem before. Their advanced technology, which had always made them invincible, was suddenly useless. Even worse, they couldn't figure out why. Admiral Krath growled in frustration. "What is happening? Why are our ships failing?" One of his officers, a young technician, looked up in fear. "Sir, it's Earth. There's something on the planet, something we don't understand. It's interfering with our systems." The Admiral slammed his fist onto the console. "Increase the power. Override all systems. We will not be stopped by a simple planet." But as the fleet continued its advance, more and more ships disappeared from the radar. Within hours, half of the Draconian fleet was lost without explanation. The remaining ships, now confused and desperate, found themselves stuck in a situation they could not explain. Earth, a planet they had deemed weak and defenseless, was turning the tables. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the once feared Draconian fleet began to fall apart, one ship at a time. And yet, despite the chaos unfolding in space, Earth remained eerily quiet. No military counterattacks, no explosions in the sky, no sign of human aggression. Only a single message echoed from Earth once more: "You have been warned." The Draconian fleet had expected Earth's surrender to be quick and easy. Their advanced warships, designed for domination, hovered above the planet, ready to strike. But as the fleet moved deeper into Earth's atmosphere, something strange began to happen. The disruption of their systems, which had started with the loss of the Grevath, was spreading. Ships that had once been powerful and unstoppable were now struggling to maintain control. In the command center of Admiral Krant's flagship, the officers were in a panic. Their communications were garbled, their weapons were malfunctioning, and their navigational systems refused to work. It wasn't just one ship, it was the entire fleet. The Draconians, used to having absolute control, now found themselves powerless. "What is going on?" the Admiral demanded, his voice sharp with frustration. He slammed his fist against the console. "Why can't we regain control?" One of his officers, a young engineer, nervously looked at the screens. "Sir, it's the planet. Something on Earth is interfering with our systems. We've never encountered anything like this before." "Impossible," Krant hissed. "This planet is nothing more than a collection of primitive creatures. They couldn't possibly have technology capable of doing this." As the Admiral fumed, the crew scrambled to understand the situation. The fleet's sensors were now almost completely useless. They couldn't detect the movements of their own ships, let alone track the situation on the ground. Earth was completely blocking their ability to see anything. The once proud Draconian fleet had become a blind, disorganized mass, with no clear strategy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the world's leaders were watching the situation unfold, still unsure of what was happening. News of the Draconian fleet's arrival had spread quickly, sending waves of fear across the planet. Yet, strangely, there was no sign of panic. People went about their lives, not out of ignorance, but because they had learned to trust in something they couldn't fully explain. Humanity had known something like this might happen. For centuries, scientists and strategists had quietly prepared for the day when Earth would be noticed by the galaxy. While the rest of the universe saw humanity as weak, Earth had been quietly hiding its most powerful secret: technology that surpassed anything the Draconians could imagine. The message "You have been warned" had been broadcasted, but it wasn't a desperate plea. It was a calm declaration. The people of Earth weren't asking for mercy. They were simply stating a fact. They were prepared. No one on Earth knew exactly how the technology worked, but certain factions of humanity had spent years developing it in secret. It wasn't about overwhelming firepower or massive weapons. Instead, it was based on manipulation of energy, forces that existed naturally in the universe, but that few had the ability to harness. As the Draconian ships continued to malfunction, strange pulses of energy began to emanate from the planet's surface. These pulses disrupted the Draconians' communications, scrambled their sensors, and interfered with their weapon systems. What was even more baffling was that the pulses didn't seem to come from any single location on Earth. Instead, they were everywhere, emanating from the planet as a whole, a planetary defense system in full effect. The Draconians tried to counter the interference, scrambling to override their systems and regain control. But it was no use. For the first time in centuries, they were being outplayed by a species they had thought to be insignificant. In the midst of the chaos, the galaxy watched in confusion. Reports from other alien civilizations who had been monitoring Earth's situation were filled with disbelief. How could a species with no spacefaring ships, no advanced military, and no galactic allies be causing such problems for one of the most powerful empires in the universe? Whispers of Earth's hidden strength began to spread, but no one could explain it. The news from the Draconian fleet's command center became more frantic. Their once unstoppable warships were now failing one after another. More ships disappeared from the radar, lost without a trace, as if they had vanished into thin air. Officers began to report strange phenomena. Entire sections of their ships had gone completely offline, and some of the ships had started to float aimlessly, as though they were being pulled by an invisible force. "Admiral, we've lost contact with more than half the fleet," another officer reported. This is unlike anything we've ever experienced." Kranth clenched his fists. "This is impossible. We are the Draconians. No one has ever defeated us." But deep inside, even the Admiral couldn't deny the truth. Earth, a planet that had once seemed like an easy target, was turning out to be an enigma. Their technology was unlike anything the Draconians had ever encountered, and their resistance was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the fleet continued to fall apart, a strange message came through, once again from Earth. This time, the message was simply one word, repeated over and over: "Leave." The message echoed across the fleet, sending a chill through every Draconian officer. They had underestimated Earth. They had underestimated humanity. And now, they were trapped in a situation they didn't understand. With every passing moment, the Draconian fleet found themselves more and more helpless against a planet they had dismissed as insignificant. As the galaxy watched in stunned silence, the fate of the Draconian fleet hung in the balance. As the days passed, the Draconian fleet continued to struggle. The once feared warships drifted aimlessly in Earth's orbit, unable to respond to commands or maintain formation. The fleet's commanders, who had once believed victory was certain, now found themselves trapped, unable to comprehend what was happening. The strange energy pulses emanating from Earth were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Admiral Kranth paced the bridge of his flagship, his cold, reptilian eyes scanning the screens. He could feel his grip on the situation slipping. "This cannot be happening," he muttered to himself. "We are the Draconians. We have conquered hundreds of worlds, and yet a planet like Earth is defeating us." His officers, too, were shaken. The fleet was disorganized, their ships were malfunctioning, and the commanders were no closer to understanding the source of the interference. It wasn't just the weapons or the navigation systems. It was everything. The Draconians had encountered resistance before, but never like this. No one had ever been able to disable their ships with such precision and ease. "We've lost more ships," one of the officers said, her voice trembling. "Entire sections of the fleet are missing. There's no sign of destruction, just emptiness." Kranth's mind raced. What does that mean? How can ships simply vanish? He paused, his thoughts narrowing on one possibility. Could it be that they have a weapon? Some kind of device that is disabling our fleet? But how? The Admiral's mind flashed back to the reports of Earth's strange energy pulses. These pulses were unlike any weapon the Draconians had ever encountered. They were not powerful blasts or beams, but subtle disturbances, as if something on Earth was influencing the very fabric of space around them. But who or what could create such energy? Meanwhile, the galaxy continued to watch in disbelief. For centuries, the Draconians had been known as the most powerful empire in the universe. Yet now, they were being humbled by a small, seemingly insignificant planet. Speculation ran wild across the galaxy. Some believed that the energy pulses were the work of an advanced alien race hiding on Earth. Others whispered that the humans themselves had developed the technology to fight back. But no one could say for sure. Back on Earth, the situation was just as mysterious. The people of Earth, though aware of the Draconian fleet overhead, were calm. There were no signs of panic or mass chaos. No armies were marching to defend the planet. No great leaders were giving speeches. The governments of Earth had made their message clear. You have been warned. But it wasn't just words. In secret, humanity had been preparing for an event like this for centuries. Scientists, engineers, and thinkers from all over the world had quietly worked together, developing technology that could match the strength of the most advanced empires. Yet this technology was not built for destruction. It was designed for defense, for balance. The strange energy pulses were a product of Earth's hidden technology. They were not weapons, but rather a force that manipulated the very structure of space itself. It was as if Earth had discovered a way to tap into a natural power, a hidden force in the universe, and bend it to their will. The pulses interfered with the Draconian ship systems, creating a field that disabled their weapons, their sensors, and their communication. What baffled the Draconians even more was that they couldn't find the source. The energy pulses didn't come from a single location. They seemed to be everywhere, emanating from Earth as a whole, as if the entire planet was united in its defense. The Draconians had expected humanity to be weak, to scatter in fear. They had anticipated a fight, but not like this. Not this calm, invisible defense that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. As the fleet continued to falter, the Draconians tried everything they could think of to counter the pulses. They attempted to boost their shields, to reroute their systems, to search for any sign of a weapon or force strong enough to create such a disturbance. But every effort failed. The pulses only grew stronger, more persistent, and more confusing. Admiral Kranth was growing desperate. He had been in command of countless battles, and he had never been forced to admit defeat. But the truth was staring him in the face. Earth, a planet he had once dismissed as insignificant, had somehow gained a power he could not understand. "Sir, we're losing more ships," an officer reported. "Our fleet is falling apart. We can't even communicate with the remaining vessels." Kranth's eyes narrowed. "This can't be. We are Draconians. We do not lose." But deep down, the Admiral knew that something had changed. Earth was not the weak, helpless planet they had once believed it to be. The mystery of Earth's defense was deepening, and the galaxy was watching, unsure of what would happen next. And then, just as the situation seemed to reach its breaking point, another message came through from Earth. This time, it was not a warning. It was a simple statement: "We are not your enemy." The message echoed across the Draconian fleet, a calm and resolute voice that seemed to cut through the confusion. It was not a threat. It was not an insult. It was just the truth. Humanity, it seemed, was not fighting for survival. They were simply defending their home. Admiral Kranth stared at the message in disbelief. Earth was not just fighting back. It was offering peace. But was it too late to stop the invasion? Was it too late for the Draconians to change their course? The mystery of Earth and humanity's unexpected strength was only deepening with every passing moment. The Draconian fleet, now scattered and broken, hovered above Earth in a state of confusion. Their once proud warships had become helpless, their weapons and sensors failing one by one. The energy pulses from Earth continued to disrupt their systems, and no one could figure out how. It wasn't just a technological mystery. It was a complete enigma. How could a planet so primitive, so insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy, possess such power? As Admiral Kranth paced the bridge of his flagship, the truth of the situation began to settle in. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was making a statement. The humans had somehow found a way to fight back against an empire that had crushed dozens of civilizations. The question now was how. How had Earth, a planet so seemingly backward, gained such advanced technology? What was the source of their mysterious power? Desperate for answers, Kranth called for a meeting with his top officers. "We need to understand what we're up against," he said, his voice sharp. "This planet is more than we thought. There must be something here, something we missed." One of his officers, a senior scientist named Zorath, stepped forward. "There is a theory, sir," she said cautiously. "It's a long shot, but it's the only thing that makes sense." Kranth raised an eyebrow. "Speak, officer." Zorath hesitated before continuing. "It's an ancient legend, one that has been passed down through the galaxy for centuries. Some believe that Earth was once home to an incredibly advanced civilization, a civilization far beyond our own, a civilization that disappeared long before the rise of the Draconians." The room fell silent. Kranth was skeptical. A myth, a story. Are we really going to waste time on ancient fairy tales? Zorath shook her head. "No, sir. This is more than a myth. There are records in the archives of our empire, ancient texts that speak of a race of beings who created technologies so powerful that they could control the very fabric of reality itself. These beings vanish without a trace, but there have always been rumors that they left something behind, something on Earth." Kranth scoffed. "So you're saying that humanity is the descendants of these beings, that they somehow inherited their power?" Zorath nodded slowly. "It's possible. Some believe that the power of these ancient beings has been lying dormant on Earth for millennia, hidden from the galaxy. It's possible that the humans have somehow unlocked it. We've underestimated them for so long, thinking they were weak, primitive. But perhaps they've always had this potential." Kranth's thoughts began to churn. Could it be true? Could Earth have once been the home of an ancient and powerful civilization that had been forgotten by time? The idea seemed absurd, but as he looked out at the damaged fleet, the possibility no longer seemed so far-fetched. There was something on Earth, something the Draconians couldn't understand, and it was enough to bring their mighty empire to its knees. The officer continued, "If these ancient beings did exist, they may have left behind clues, artifacts, or even technology that we have overlooked. The humans may not even know the full extent of what they have. But we do know one thing. They are not as primitive as we believed." Kranth's mind raced. He had heard of other ancient civilizations throughout the galaxy, powerful empires that had risen and fallen. Some left behind ruins, some left behind legends. But this was different. If Earth had once been the home of such a civilization, it would explain everything. The energy pulses, the mysterious defense systems, it all pointed to one thing. Earth had access to technology far beyond anything the Draconians had ever encountered. But how could they find it? How could they understand it? "Zorath," Kranth said, his voice now measured, "you will lead a team to Earth. Find these artifacts, these remnants of this ancient civilization. Whatever it takes, we must understand how they are doing this." Zorath nodded, her face grim. "I will gather a team, sir, but we must be careful. If the humans are truly using this technology, they may have more than just a defense system. They could have weapons, advanced weapons that could destroy us." Kranth paused, considering her words. If Earth had such power, they had already shown they weren't afraid to use it. And yet, the strange calm of the humans, their refusal to fight with violence, made him question their true intentions. Were they simply defending their home, or did they have something even greater in mind? As the fleet continued to float above Earth, Kranth felt a cold sense of unease. The more he learned about Earth, the more he realized how little the Draconians truly understood about this planet. He had come to conquer, to enslave. And now, he found himself on the edge of a mystery that could change the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on as usual. The people of the planet had no idea of the history being uncovered above them. They didn't know that their ancestors might have been part of an ancient lost civilization. All they knew was that the Draconians were here, and they had warned them to leave. The galaxy continued to watch in silence. The Draconians were in trouble, and Earth, once thought to be a weak and insignificant planet, was now at the center of an unfolding mystery that could change everything. The fate of the galaxy seemed to rest on what would happen next, and whether humanity's forgotten past would be revealed. As the Draconian fleet continued to flounder above Earth, Admiral Kranth made his decision. The mystery of Earth's power was no longer something to be ignored. It was something that could not be ignored. The ancient legends of a forgotten civilization, the strange energy pulses, and the sudden rise of Earth's defenses had made one thing clear. The planet had something the Draconians needed to understand. Kranth watched as his officers worked tirelessly to repair their ships, but no progress was made. The energy pulses from Earth disrupted everything. Ships drifted aimlessly, weapons systems failed, and even the simplest of tasks became impossible. The Draconians were accustomed to power, to domination, but now they were helpless. He turned to Zoreth, the senior scientist who had spoken of the ancient beings. "Gather your team," Kranth ordered. "You will lead the mission to Earth. Find the source of their power. I want answers, and I want them now." Zoreth nodded, her face grim. "Yes, Admiral. We will not return without them." The Draconians had no choice but to send a team down to the surface of Earth. With their fleet in disarray, they needed to understand how the humans had gained this mysterious power. Zoreth and her team, equipped with the best technology the Draconians had, descended to Earth's surface in a shuttle, hoping to uncover the secrets hidden beneath the planet's surface. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as usual. People were aware of the Draconian presence, but there was no panic, no widespread fear. They had received the warning from their leaders. "You have been warned." It wasn't a plea for mercy. It was a declaration that Earth was not willing to surrender. The humans didn't fully understand the ancient technologies that had been uncovered beneath their feet, but they had always known something was there, something powerful. For years, scientists and researchers had been studying ancient artifacts, hoping to unlock the secrets of their ancestors. But most of the world remained unaware. The government had kept the knowledge of these discoveries hidden, preparing for the day when the planet might be forced to defend itself. The secret of Earth's power lay in a series of hidden structures beneath the planet's crust, remnants of the ancient civilization that had once called Earth home. These beings had left behind technology that could manipulate energy in ways that no other civilization in the galaxy could understand. It wasn't just about controlling weapons. It was about controlling the very fabric of space itself. Zoreth's team landed in a remote area, far from any major cities, where the ancient technology was believed to be hidden. They moved carefully, scanning the area for any signs of danger. The forest around them was eerily silent, as if the planet itself was watching them. The Draconians had expected to encounter some form of resistance from the humans, but so far, Earth had not shown any hostility. "We need to find the source," Zoreth muttered, her eyes scanning the horizon. "It's here. I can feel it." The team moved through the dense forest, following a path that seemed to lead them deeper into the planet's heart. They came to a large clearing, and in the center of the clearing stood a massive structure, ancient and worn but unmistakable. It was a temple, built with stone and materials unlike anything the Draconians had ever seen. The markings on the walls were strange, symbols that seemed to shift and change before their eyes. "This is it," Zoreth said, awe in her voice. "This is the source." The team entered the temple, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty space. At the center of the temple stood a large, crystalline structure, pulsing with an energy that resonated throughout the entire room. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The energy was not violent or destructive. It was quiet, almost peaceful, yet powerful in its own way. Zoreth approached the crystal, her hand outstretched. As she touched it, a wave of energy washed over her, and for a brief moment, she felt something ancient. It was as if the crystal was alive, communicating with her in a way that no technology ever could. Suddenly, a voice spoke in her mind. "You are not the first to seek us, but you will be the last." Zoreth stumbled back, her heart racing. The others in her team looked at her, confused and alarmed. "What happened?" one of the soldiers asked. Zoreth took a deep breath, her hands shaking. "The crystal. It spoke to me. It said." Before she could finish, the ground beneath them trembled. The air seemed to crackle with energy, and the entire temple began to shake. The crystal began to glow brighter, and the symbols on the walls shifted again, faster this time, as if they were alive. "It's activating," Zoreth whispered. "The crystal. It's calling to something." The Draconians were not prepared for what happened next. The ground around them split open, revealing the hidden chamber deep beneath the temple. Inside, there was more advanced technology, machines and devices that pulsed with the same energy that had been disrupting their fleet above. The technology was alive, connected to the very core of Earth. "This is it," Zoreth said, breathless. "This is the source of Earth's power." But as she looked closer, she realized that the technology was not just a defense. It was something more. The ancient beings who had once lived on Earth had not simply hidden their power. They had left a message, a warning for anyone who would dare to disturb their legacy. The message was clear. Earth was not a planet to be conquered. It was a planet to be respected. As Zoreth and her team stood in the depths of the ancient temple, their minds were reeling from the discovery. The crystal pulsed with a quiet but powerful energy, and the hidden chamber beneath them revealed more advanced technology than any of them had ever imagined. The Draconians had believed they were the most powerful empire in the galaxy, but here, on Earth, they had found something far beyond their comprehension. Zoreth's hand trembled as she touched the glowing crystal again. The energy within it seemed to flow into her, and for a brief moment, she saw visions of a time long past. She saw an ancient civilization, flourishing with incredible technology, their cities filled with wonders that defied logic. But then, just as quickly, the vision shifted. She saw the civilization fall, their power crumbling as they disappeared from the galaxy, leaving behind only their legacy. The voice that had spoken in her mind earlier returned. "You are not the first to seek us. You will not be the last. But the time has come to decide. Will you preserve the legacy, or will you destroy it?" Zoreth gasped, stepping back from the crystal. The message was clear. This was not just a tool of power. It was a test. The ancients had left a choice for those who would find their technology. Preserve it, protect it, or risk destroying everything they had created. Her team looked at her, confusion and concern in their eyes. One of the soldiers spoke, his voice uneasy. "What does it mean, Zoreth? What are we supposed to do?" Zoreth didn't have an answer. She had never encountered anything like this before. The Draconians had always been the ones to conquer, to take what they wanted. But here, on Earth, they were being faced with something completely different. They were being challenged, not with weapons or battles, but with a moral choice. The voice spoke again, as if it had been waiting for her answer. "The path you choose will not be easy. The power you seek can save or destroy. It will change the fate of your people and the fate of this planet." Zoreth felt the weight of the decision pressing on her. If the Draconians were to claim this power, they would become unstoppable. But at what cost? If they misused it, if they allowed greed to drive them, they could destroy everything: their empire, Earth, and even the galaxy itself. The crystal's warning was clear. Power was not something to be taken lightly. Zoreth turned to her team. "We need to leave," she said firmly. "We cannot take this power yet, not without understanding it fully. We need to report back to Admiral Kranth." Reluctantly, the team agreed. They left the chamber, but the weight of their discovery lingered in the air. As they ascended from the depths of the temple, Zoreth couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. The ancients had left behind more than just technology. They had left a message, a warning that the Draconians were not ready to hear. Back on the Draconian flagship, Admiral Kranth paced impatiently. He had been waiting for news from Zoreth's team, and his frustration was growing. The fleet had been in disarray for weeks, and now, with no clear answers from Earth, he was beginning to lose his patience. "Where is the team?" Kranth barked at his officers. "We've been waiting too long for results." Just as the tension on the bridge reached its peak, Zorath's voice crackled through the communication system. "Admiral Krath, this is Zorath. We have made a discovery, but it is not what we expected." Krath's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about? What did you find?" Zorath's voice was calm but urgent. "We found the source of the energy pulses. It is not a weapon, as we believed. It is something far older, an ancient technology, left behind by a lost civilization. The power it contains is beyond anything we've encountered." Krath's expression darkened. "Are you saying Earth has this power?" "Yes, sir, but it is not simply a tool for conquest," Zorath continued. "The crystal, it spoke to us. It left us with a message, a choice. We can take this power, but we risk destroying everything. The ancients built this technology with a purpose, and if we misuse it, we will bring ruin." The silence on the bridge was deafening. Krath could hardly believe what he was hearing. The Draconians had always sought power, control over the galaxy. Now, they were being faced with a choice that threatened to change everything. "Do you suggest we leave it?" Krath asked, his voice low. Zorath hesitated. "I do not know what the right path is, but I know this. If we do not approach this carefully, we will regret it." Krath's mind raced. He had always believed that power was the key to the Draconian Empire's dominance. But now, he was faced with a dilemma he had never anticipated. Was he willing to risk everything, to take power that could destroy them all, or would he listen to the warning of a long-dead civilization? The choice seemed impossible. The Draconians could not afford to back down, yet they had never faced anything like this before. The ancient technology on Earth had the potential to change the balance of the galaxy, but if it was misused, it could destroy everything they had built. Krath turned away from the communication screen, his mind spinning. The future of the Draconian Empire, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested on the decision he was about to make. Admiral Krath sat alone in the command room of his flagship, the weight of the decision pressing on him. The Draconian fleet, once so powerful and confident, was now grounded by the strange energy pulses from Earth. Zorath's report had left him conflicted. The ancient power beneath Earth's surface could change the galaxy, but it was clear it was not a gift. It was a test. The ancients had left a warning, a choice that would determine the fate of both Earth and the Draconian Empire. Krath stared out at the stars. The galaxy had always been within his reach. His empire had grown for centuries, and power had been their only goal. But now, for the first time, the question of what to do with that power had become too complicated. He could feel the eyes of his fleet upon him, waiting for his decision. If he chose to claim the power for the Draconians, they could dominate the galaxy forever. But at what cost? He thought of Zorath's words. The power in the crystal had the potential to destroy everything, not just the Draconians, but all civilizations across the galaxy. Zorath had warned him. If we misuse it, we will bring ruin. There was no easy answer. Krath had always believed that the strong survived. He had believed that his empire, his people, were the future of the galaxy. But now, there was a nagging doubt in his mind. What if the power of the ancients wasn't meant to be wielded by any one race? What if it was meant to be protected, not exploited? The decision could not wait. Krath turned to his communications officer. "Contact Zorath. Tell her to return to the fleet immediately." Minutes later, Zorath appeared on the screen, her face grim but resolute. "Admiral, we've returned," she said. "We have gathered all the data we could from the temple. The crystal is more than we thought. It's not just a weapon. It's a key." "A key?" Krath asked, intrigued. "A key to what?" "To the future," Zorath replied. "It's not just about power. It's about balance. The ancients knew that civilizations would rise and fall. They created this technology to ensure that no single empire could dominate the galaxy forever. It's a safeguard, a way to prevent destruction on a universal scale." Krath frowned. "So you're telling me that this crystal was meant to be protected, not used for conquest?" Zorath nodded. That's what the message meant. The power isn't for us to control. If we try to use it to dominate, we will destroy everything, including ourselves. But if we respect it, if we understand it, we can use it to ensure the galaxy survives. Kranth's mind raced as the implications of her words began to sink in. The Draconians had always sought control, but now they were faced with something that could unravel all of their ambitions. The choice was simple in theory. Respect the power, protect it, and let the galaxy thrive. But in practice, it was a much harder decision. The fleet is in disarray, Kranth said slowly, his voice filled with uncertainty. We could take the power. We could restore our ships, and with it, we would be unstoppable. The galaxy would kneel before us. Zorath's eyes were filled with warning. And what would that cost us, Admiral? What would happen to the galaxy if we took it all for ourselves? Kranth knew the answer. If the Draconians misused the power, they would be no better than the ancient civilization that had fallen. A single empire rising too high would only bring destruction. The balance that the ancients had worked so hard to preserve would be lost, and the galaxy would suffer. He thought of Earth. The humans had shown no desire to conquer. They had defended their planet, but they had not sought to expand. Earth's people had managed to survive without relying on the power that had been hidden beneath their feet for so long. Perhaps it was time for the Draconians to learn the same restraint. Kranth turned away from the screen, his decision weighing heavily on him. It was not just about the Draconians anymore. It was about the future of the entire galaxy. Prepare the fleet, he ordered finally. We are leaving Earth. Zorath blinked in surprise. Admiral, what are you saying? We will not take the power, Kranth said, his voice firm. We will respect the ancient legacy. Earth will remain untouched. Zorath's face softened with relief. You have made the right decision, Admiral. As the Draconian fleet began to retreat, Earth remained in peace. The energy pulses stopped, and the mysterious power that had once disrupted the Draconian ships faded. The humans would never know the full extent of what had almost happened, but they would continue to live their lives, unaware of the decision that had spared the galaxy from destruction. The Draconians, for the first time, had chosen not to conquer. They had chosen to protect. And in doing so, they had embraced the true meaning of power, not to control, but to preserve. As the fleet moved farther away from Earth, Kranth couldn't help but feel a strange sense of peace. The galaxy had not been won, but it had been saved. And for the first time in his life, Kranth understood that true strength lay not in domination, but in the wisdom to know when to walk away.